I could go down there and get Varga, bring him home safe. There's ways to do it on the quiet. Unless you already have something in the works.
Hey guys, Kiwi here, warning of spoilers for Breaking Bad, El Camino, and Better Call Saul up to Season 6, Episode 2. In this video, I'll be breaking down and discussing my own personal theory in regards to if Mike will be forced to kill Nacho. This isn't confirmed, it's just a theory I have based off of putting many of the pieces together, that is Better Call Saul, and in this video, I'll discuss why I've come to this conclusion. Like the video if you end up enjoying it, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on Twitter for more Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad updates, and if you really enjoy what I do here, maybe even consider checking out my Patreon to help support the channel financially. With that being said, let's jump into the breakdown. So I don't want Mike to kill Nacho, but I sadly think it may happen. It was a thought in the back of my head going into Season 6, and now that I've seen the first 2 episodes, I sadly think this might become a reality. So the entire show, Mike's character arc is him evolving, or devolving from his current half-measure mentality to become no half-measure Mike. There are many moments in this show during the Better Call Saul timeline that give Mike the hard lesson that half-measures have horrible consequences, even if you did them with good intentions, such as the innocent civilian being killed for finding the truck heist back in Season 2. There's also other moments in Mike's past that do the same thing. The story Mike tells Walt during the famous no half measure speech in Breaking Bad is one example, along with even the events that resulted in Mike's son being killed as another. Nacho knows that Mike is the one guy who won't pull the trigger and that he'll go to great lengths to avoid it. This is because of Mike not wanting to kill Tuco or keeping the truck driver alive from Mike's truck heist. I've previously done a video on how Gus corrupted Mike back in I think the Season 4, Season 5 era of the show, and I still pretty much stand by that idea. In Season 4, Mike did everything he could to help Werner, but after Werner kept messing up, Mike had no choice but to kill him. Yes, Mike could have just let Gus's men do it, but Mike felt responsible for this and wanted to do everything he could to make Werner's final moments the best that he could before finally closing the book on Werner's story. Mike didn't want to, but he finally pulled the trigger. Now going into Season 6, Mike has grown an affinity for Nacho, and deeply cares for his survival, sticking his neck out for Nacho back in Season 5 to convince Gus to spare Nacho's life in the Lalo assassination attempt, along with continuing to push Gus to help Nacho in Season 6. Mike is almost low-key a father figure to Nacho, so he really doesn't want Nacho to die too. Mike seems to care for Nacho the same way that he'll eventually end up caring for Jesse in Breaking Bad. All Gus wants is for Nacho to be dead, because Nacho is a loose end that could blow up his plans even more so than they've already failed. Out of all Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad, I don't know if we've seen Gus in such a bad spot and mess up his plans as badly as he did with the failed assassination attempt. In episode 602, we get a nice cliche of Gus breaking a glass, but then he slowly starts picking up the pieces, symbolizing that Gus's plan has shattered with him scrambling to try and fix everything. Gus will do anything to protect himself and his interests, and if this means killing Nacho and his father, Gus would. Remember that this is the guy who ends up threatening to kill Walt's entire family, including his infant child. Mike knows that Gus could be capable of such things. In episode 602, Mike says that going to extract Nacho themselves is their only play, but that's far from the truth. The truth is, this is their only play that Mike would approve of, trying to deter Gus from other, more sinister options. Gus realizes this, but still brings up Nacho's father, telling Mike to bring him here. This means kidnapping him and holding him against his will to threaten Nacho with, to make sure that Nacho won't rat Gus out if he gets caught. Mike wanting to protect Nacho cuts both ways. Yeah, Mike is the only reason why Nacho is alive due to stepping up to Gus at the end of Season 5, but on the other hand, Nacho being alive is the cause of all of Gus's problems, creating this wild goose chase of who can find Nacho first before he escapes to safety somehow. Gus went to great lengths to lead Nacho to the Motel Octillo in order to keep an eye on him and know where he was at all times. In Season 6, when Gus tells Mike to speak his mind, Mike says that loyalty works both ways and that Nacho has been gold to him, so he deserves a break and respect. Gus says that Nacho does have his respect in a dismissive way, and Mike knows to keep his mouth shut here and walk out himself. At the beginning of Season 6, Bolsa tells Gus about Lalo's assassination and implies to Gus to cover his tracks, as Don Eladio has put a hit out on Nacho for being a rat, and that Bolsa can tell that this was Gus's doing. Gus raises his suspicions to Mike, and Mike says that he can go get Nacho from Mexico and bring him back safely before the Salamancas can get to him. After a long pause, Mike says, unless you have something else in the works, and oh boy does Gus ever. Mike goes to Nacho's house and pays Nacho's girls to leave. Ah, half measure Mike, how I've missed you. Mike measures the safe due to them getting an exact copy replacement safe in just a moment. Now when they finally get the safe open, Mike takes out all the money, and in the process he finds Nacho's fake IDs for both himself and his father that we saw back in Season 4, I believe. Mike takes Nacho's father's fake ID, but leaves Nacho's. Victor arrives with the replacement safe, and Mike puts everything back into the new safe except for Nacho's father's fake ID. And then he also leaves an extra piece of evidence in the replacement safe, which is kind of what we predicted. Before Season 6 aired, we predicted that Mike would put false evidence to throw off either the Salamancas or the police, but what Mike does here is the exact opposite. He leaves info that leads Bolsa and the cartel directly to Nacho. This is evidence to blame Nacho for the entire assassination attempt, to take the heat off of Gus a bit. If Gus just wanted Nacho dead, sure, but the Salamancas want to capture Nacho alive so that they can interrogate him and get out the truth. Sure, maybe Gus just assumes that the Salamancas will just kill Nacho due to there being a hit on him for Don Eladio, but isn't it a bit foolish or risky of Gus to not consider the fact that the Salamancas could torture Nacho for info before they kill him? It's possible that Gus wanted the Salamancas to kill Nacho, and that the idea of capturing Nacho alive was an original idea by the Salamanca twins, which is why they put so much emphasis on it in the episode where the twins are shooting out one of their own men before he can kill Nacho. That being said, there's gotta be more of a reason why Gus was making Nacho stay put to keep an eye on him, along with the fact that he led the Salamancas right to him. Was Gus using Nacho to lure the Salamancas there so Gus could kill the Salamancas as well? It's possible that the spy was waiting for the Salamancas to show up so he could call it in and have them get ambushed. But since Nacho knocked out the spy right before the Salamancas showed up, none of that ever happened. So did Mike know that he was doing this when he left the evidence there? Mike takes an extra long glance at it before he puts it in the safe, which makes me feel like he might be aware. Also, when Nacho calls them at the end of episode 602, Mike just says, "Not my call." So although Mike has his own morals and beliefs in regards to caring about Nacho and his father, Mike still recognizes that some things are simply out of his control, and that even though he tries to influence Gus to do what Mike believes is right, he still has to follow Gus's orders at the end of the day. Later on, Bolsa brings men to search Nacho's house, and they open the replica safe, finding Nacho's fake ID but not his father's. Bolsa also finds the planted envelope with fake evidence blaming Nacho for the assassination due to bank statements with large amounts of money being transferred along with the Motel Octillo phone number inside. Could the bank statements be trying to cover Mike's truck heist back in Season 2 and instead blame Nacho as the one who robbed Hector's truck full of money? Back at Gus's trailer, we see Mike talking to a sniper who's giving them cover. This is a great parallel to the scene in Breaking Bad where Gus stands up to a sniper at this same location. Tyra says that the cartel believes that Lalo's dead and that the Salamancas and police are both looking for Nacho. Mike says that if Lalo was coming straight for Gus, that he'd be there already. He adds by saying that they have guys on lookout for Lalo, but no one has found a trace of him. Mike has a hunch that the cartel won't approve of him killing Gus, and that Lalo is probably searching for Nacho himself too. Mike says that Nacho is smart, but that he'll eventually get caught. Mike then insists again on Gus letting him bring some men to Mexico to extract Nacho before the Salamancas can get to him. Mike defends Nacho's father against Gus, and Tyrus pulls a gun on Mike. The show always knows how to make Mike look cool, as the way Mike calmly stands here without flinching is just so badass. Conveniently, Nacho just happens to call Mike right at this exact moment, with Mike explaining that Nacho's been trying to call him constantly this whole time. The episode ends with Mike telling Gus that Nacho wants to talk to him. Eventually, Gus will pull the final straw on Nacho and require him to be killed. Just like with Werner, Mike will argue and plead for it to not be done, but Gus will force his hand on the situation, making Mike accept that it's out of his hands. Mike will probably volunteer to be the one to do the deed, just like with Werner, in order to get closure with Nacho and possibly complete any final dying request that Nacho has. I'm picturing a situation similar to the Werner death in Season 4, where Mike and Nacho are alone and they know what it's leading to. There may have been one or two final moments here, but with Mike ultimately putting Nacho down like the dog that Gus thinks of him as.
A dog
which is horrible to say as Mike is my favorite Breaking Bad character and Nacho is my favorite Better Call Saul character. I don't want them both to die in the timeline, and we already know that Mike gets unjustly killed in Breaking Bad, so I'd hate for the same to happen to Nacho as well. It's a very dark prediction to make, the thought of Mike being forced to kill Nacho, but all things considered, it fits the theme of the show and the universe. It'd be the final straw for Mike throwing in the towel on half measures and developing his no half measure mentality that we know him for in Breaking Bad. This could be why Mike is so cold and quick to kill in Breaking Bad. In my opinion, this would be a horrifyingly perfect way to complete Mike's arc in Better Call Saul. Plus, we all sadly think that Nacho is probably gonna die anyway, so why not make it in the hands of the person sticking his neck out for Nacho the most? After everything Nacho has gone through with Tuco, Hector, Gus, Lalo, Eladio, and the Salamanca twins, to survive it all just to be taken out by Mike would be incredibly depressing, but somehow fitting. Before Nacho dies, he could request to Mike that his papa is forcibly relocated to somewhere safe and far away from the Salamancas, along with Gus probably as well. Now for those of you that still have hope that Nacho will somehow survive and escape with his papa, this one's for you. An alternate ending to this theory is that Mike just pretends to kill Nacho, but secretly lets him escape. This would pretty much go against the entire idea of Mike killing Nacho, completing Mike's story arc in regards to no longer making half-measure decisions, but this could be the final half-measure decision that Mike makes. They could even go so far as to find a fake body pretending to be Nacho, just like Lalo did at the beginning of the season. But that being said, it didn't work on Gus the first time, and he ended up figuring out the truth that Lalo was still alive, so who knows if that could work a second time. And to be honest, I feel like Mike letting Nacho go while lying to Gus about killing him would blow up in Mike's face and result in some unintentionally horrible consequences, with Nacho getting killed eventually anyways. So maybe that is the last half measure that Mike does, but Nacho gets killed anyways, and in a worse way. Maybe his father dies too, and then this changes Mike to no half measures. So what do you think? Will Gus pull his final straw and put his foot down in regards to making the call that Nacho needs to die? Will Mike be forced to go along with it to the point that Mike kills Nacho himself? I think it would conclude Mike and Nacho's character arc pretty well, and that the least Mike can do is promise Nacho that Papa will stay safe. Let me know of your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. I'd appreciate a like on the video if you've enjoyed anything that I've said today, and if you're new to the channel or just haven't yet already, subscribe and hit the bell notification to stay updated on when I post new content on Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. I thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out!